Hello, and welcome to the podcast where we are currently recapping the events of Transformers IDW 2005 continuity. I'm Onyx Prime with my two co-hosts here.
Hi, I'm Computron.
Hi, I'm Kilobyte.
Moving on with our comic book discussion for today's episode takes us to IDW Transformers Dark Cybertron Volume 2. And as always, spoiler warning, so if you haven't read it already, we highly recommend you go back, read it again, then listen to the podcast. Now, onwards. Both Computron and myself have read the series already, but this is Kilobyte's first time, and we are excited to hear his thoughts. But before we can get to that, before any of this could occur, Computron, do you mind telling us some facts about this volume?
Okay, so hard facts and trivia or just facts?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Both.
Okay, so the usual number of comics. There are 6. The 7th issue was released January 22nd, 2014, and the 12th and final issue that concludes the events was released March 26, 2014. The writers were James Roberts and John Barber. The artists were James Reyes, Attilio Rojo, Livio Ramondelli, Andrew Griffith, Brendan Calhill, colors by Josh Perez and Livio Ramondelli, and additional inks by Brian Scherer. Okay, so trivia. In issue 7, Nautica and Chromia were originally planned to look less visually female and more like the default Cybertronian design. So the readers wouldn't have clocked that they were females until the dialogue. James Roberts had to shelve this idea because IDW wanted to make it clear immediately that female cyber transformers were in the series. Okay, issue 8 on page 14, Brainstorm scans Metroprex's brain module with a PKE meter from Ghostbusters franchise. Dun, 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 dun. On the penultimate page, Starscream suddenly appears for a single panel behind Megatron. The next issue shows that he is still at the Med Center in Iacon. In issue 10, Nautica calls Ore 7 Magical Mystery Ore, a reference to the Beatles' album Magical Mystery Tour. One word off. 2 words
One
off.
letter.
In issue 12, the final issue, Prime vows to Shockwave that he will remember him as he was, which was the hope pre-Shadowplay Shockwave expressed in More Than Meets the Eye, number 11. Okay, so with all that being done and dandy and said, Mr. Kilobyte, would you mind giving us a short summary of these comics?
Will do. The Lost Lighters meet new allies deep within Metroplex, while old allies are found and won back in the dead universe. All of this plus Megatron versus Galvatron in this epic conclusion. And as always, this information has been taken from the wiki.
Are you all ready? Because this is a good one.
Ready?
It's a real good one. All right, so we start off outside of the Lost Light with a battle against the Minicons. The Ammonites. Any favorite scenes from this one? Because I want to say my favorite one is Crosscut and Swerve's banter back and forth on how Crosscut has never been to Swerve Bar and Swerve has never heard about Crosscut and his plays. Like that was just, it was funny because the Lost Light is huge. And this kind of gives us like an idea on how huge it is that even some of the crewmates have never interacted in a way that they know things about each other.
Like Swerve knew Crosscut's like history in the war, but he never knew like Crosscut's current position, right? In like the Lost Light.
He knew he was a senator before.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious because I think one of the dialogues said that Crosscut said he knew of the bar, he just didn't know the name of the bar. I was like, really, dude?
And moving along, I know last time we left a little bit on the cliffhanger with the rod pod exploding in front of a bunch of bots, but we find out a bunch of walls came out of nowhere to save the crew from the exploding rod pod. Whew.
That was
Nice
a close
save,
one.
right?
That was a close one.
The anticipation there.
Oh no.
So good. So good. So that's the Lost Light caught up, but let's flip to Cybertron. I want to point out something funny because Galvatron makes it through the portal and he points out that he's an old ancient warrior who doesn't trust this generation. Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Does that sound
Definitely
familiar to anyone? I don't know.
It does.
Can't quite put my finger on it, but huh. Wonder what that's a reference for.
Well, at least you
Anyway,
didn't lose your thumb.
at least I didn't lose my thumb.
Reference later. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Computron, do you mind telling us how Rodimus convinced Nightbeat out of Nova's control in the Dead universe?
Yeah. So the whole mind control, and I don't know how Rodimus knew this, but I'm just going to roll with the punches on this one. Rodimus figured out or knew that in order to break out of, like in this case, he says shadow play specifically, but in order to break out of the mind control, he needed to use Nightbeat's best, power, which was in this case his active curiosity and his, being an active investigative person. He shows Nightbeat on his hand a fraction, if you will, which is an 89 over 101. With that, Nightbeat had to, in a puzzling way, figure out that 89 over 101 was the votes that were there to reenact or kick out Rodimus from being the captain of the ship. Well, 89 of the bots said nay and 101 said yay. Anyway, Nightbeat figured it out, and with him figuring out, he used his superpower. I wouldn't say superpower, but his most powerful
Sherlock abilities.
Yeah, exactly. And managed to break out of Nova Prime's mind control.
Yeah, very interesting.
Very cool too. Very different way to snap somebody from mind control.
So confusing that even Optimus Prime was confused.
Well, like I understand because like it brings forth his own personality to conquer what's been forced upon him as a mind control. So I guess that's where that comes from,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think that's what they say.
I do find it interesting with the terminology that Rodimus uses. He says like shadow play specifically, and I'm like, I don't think that's shadow play.
It's a little bit, right? It's not to the extent that some of the other bots have witnessed.
True. It's not a Shockwave shadow play.
So I want to push this along a little bit, and I want to say one of my second favorite team ups occurs at this moment, and it's when Bumblebee and Megatron are teaming up to fight against Galvatron. And I also want to say poor Waspinator because he gets his face shoved into the ground.
It's okay, Westminator. You're far away from Galvatron now.
Yeah, that's done and over with. We got more things we gotta talk about. Is that okay, Waspinator?
He called me wicked youths.
It's
Yeah.
okay. He can't hurt you anymore.
That is true. I don't know if you guys remember, but he's got a...
Yeah. There's this thing I've noticed Earthlings do sometimes to get some old bots to be quiet. I'm not sure if it works all the time. It's like Boomer okay? I can't remember. Anyway, we're gonna move on. Speaking of moving on, let's check in with Starscream, who is recreating the "Everything is Fine" meme with fire around him, and he's kind of having a mental breakdown, isn't he? Actually,
It doesn't help that Scoop just has to, keep hammering him with guilt and everything. But, yeah.
Yeah, he's giving them the scoop.
Oh, we
made this joke before. Hold on.
Yes, we did. But yeah, I guess another of Starscream empires crumble again in front of his eyes.
Yeah, it's really burning up in flames, isn't it? Let's talk about some new characters. Chromia, Nautica, and Windblade. Kilo, I want to hear your thoughts first.
I love them. It was about time we got some fembots in here.
That's it? That's your thoughts? Just we gotta have some?
Well, they make it all better. I really like Nautica's design. I really like
thirsty boys.
I really like Nautica's design and Windblade's. One of my favorites, fembots. I like Chromia's interaction with Nautica a lot because she's kind of like trying to keep Nautica straight and like following the path instead of like rambling on with her thoughts and everything. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think it's mentioned here, but Chromia is like the bodyguard to Windblade, but also to Nautica to extent, or best friends with Nautica, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so
Good stuff.
I know she's trying to keep him safe, but it's still funny.
I do want to say, like, for me, the funniest moment is before they introduced the Lost Light crew, or what's left of them, to Windblade. They said we have to introduce her to She Who Must Not Be Named. I was like,
You know
oh,
what that's a reference to?
oh, sounds familiar. I wonder where.
Right, some magical beings in a fantastical world. Harry
With
Potter.
magic.
Some magical being that couldn't even take over a school.
Not sponsored, by the way.
Not sponsored.
So, Computron, back in the
Yep.
Dead universe, Rodimus tells Optimus, well, that's a lot of us's again, what the numbers on his hand mean. And you've kind of delved into that a little bit, but what is Optimus's response to those numbers?
It was actually very interesting, right? Instead of saying, because at the time when Rodimus was talking to Optimus about it, he went on the lines of he was trying to, tell Optimus that he felt guilty. Well, while Optimus was listening, he said, "You should have just resigned." And Rodimus, taken aback, thinking Optimus was just going to give him a pep talk, looks at Optimus and goes, "What?" He goes, "You only did that vote just to, boost your ego to see if people, would actually vote for you."
Well,
And-
he did the vote because he knew he would win, right?
Yeah. And so Optimus said you only really did that to boost your ego in a sense, and that you never really intended for there to be a vote. You should have just resigned.
Yeah. I really
And I
like
think
that
for me,
interaction.
Well, yeah, and I think
Yeah.
my favorite line is out of that whole ordeal is that he said, "I'm not here to absolve your guilt," kind of thing. So it's
Yeah.
like, wow,
So good. Putting Rodimus in his place.
Yeah.
sit down.
Also in the Dead universe, Cyclonus isn't doing so well. Poor guy. Anyway, back to B and Megatron. I really enjoy that after the fight with Megatron, he gets ripped in half. Insert, meme here from 2007 movie. How the turntables have turned, right? Anyway, Megatron had Bumblebee carry him to the Autobot base and wait for a dramatic entrance to Prowl and Soundwave as they were all teaming up to stop a common foe. That to me spells Megatron is a drama queen.
Yes, he is.
Well, it was like between Prowl and Starscream, right? Because Starscream, Prowl is essentially sidelining
Starscream was there, but not supposed to be there. This is one in the fun fact. Starscream was there, but he was also in the medical center having a mental breakdown. It's one of those, there's two Starscream scenes, but it was Prowl and Soundwave talking.
Yeah, Starscream just says it's just an extra.
Yeah, sticking true to the G1 continuity where there's two Starscreams in like every other episode.
Are you sure it's not another seeker?
That explains the ugly coloring.
Wow. No, the Armada one's really nice. I like it.
Yeah. Armada.
I will die on this hill. I don't like it.
You will die alone.
You need to see the Armada and then you'll learn to appreciate it.
So just as all hope seems lost once again for the nth time in a row, it's time for a giant mech fight as Player 2, Metroplex, teleports to Cybertron along with the Lost Light. Any favorite scenes at this point? Because I really enjoy when B and Megatron are talking, and Megatron kind of figures out what's going on, and so does Kilobyte, and he says, "Since when does anyone stay dead once the Lost Light is seen to be still alive?" And Megatron has a point.
That's true.
He's caught on. No one stays
Yep.
dead.
Yeah, nobody dies. I like Metroplex showing up and just punching the other Titan. I thought that was pretty fun because like the way it's drawn, it looks like the Smash intro. It's like Metroplex is here as well, kind of scene, and he's just punching the other one. I thought that was great.
Player 2 has entered the game.
I know.
Well, you just said that, didn't you?
I
Gosh.
did. We're
Yes,
gonna insert some sort of the Flash meme from the what's that fighting game? Everyone's so fine, but it's smashing, right? The smashing tournament.
Super Smash Brothers, I think it's called.
Is
But
it
it's different
Brothers?
because
Smush.
I think it's probably or super. No, I think it's Super
I need to
Smash.
brush
I
up
don't
on my
know.
Earth culture.
Yeah, but
Hey,
it's different
yeah.
than Player 2 because they give him his name. Okay, difference reference.
So speaking of sarcasm, let's hear a word from today's sponsor. Gotta rake in that Shanix, you know?
Let's play Guess That Con. Hey Onyx, what do you have there?
Garbage O's, they are fantastic.
Can I have some?
Of course you can. They have all your daily minerals and energon you'll need throughout the day, all jam-packed into a delicious breakfast cereal.
I can't wait to try some.
You can find Garbage O's at your local Autobot factory, or if you know a bot named Swindle. If purchasing a Garbage O's products, you are therefore agreeing to the following terms and conditions. Garbage O's is not responsible for any Turbo Mice found in products. There are no refunds or exchanges.
Oh, Primus, I forgot my faceplate was still on. It's Starscream!
And welcome back. While that's going on Cybertron, we're going to flip back to the Dud universe where we get a much different kind of fight between Optimus Prime and Nova Prime. Another Prime on Prime fighting. Any favorite scenes from this one? I, personally, jumping in again, really enjoy the shape-shifting Nova Prime does, where he shape-shifts to not only... what was it?
I was gonna say, you mean Optimus fighting Nova / Optimus / Zeta? Fight?
Yeah, he kind of does a montage of all the mentors of Optimus, right? Until finally settles on Optimus. But what are your thoughts?
I'm curious because I still don't know what. Maybe it wasn't correctly, or I misread it, but I don't know what exactly or who exactly that bot was legitimately. It just was a shapeshifter to me, and I'm like, okay, well, who is this?
It is Nova.
I think it is Nova, yeah.
Is it
You
Nova? And
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
like one of Nova's powers, or
No,
Probably
so
maybe giving it to from
yeah.
the Death Universe.
yeah, because he's because the dead universe is dying. It has become weaker, so he's able to like manipulate the forces around him, including matter itself, so he could shapeshift. That's why he was able to like create a containment field.
that makes
Pretty
sense.
much come in like a god when they first introduce him, and stuff like that.
Who'd have
And
thunk
also, he's been
that universe was dying?
infected. Well, in prior comics, he was also infected by the Void, right? So he's
Yeah.
like a mishmash of like superpowers in one. He's got plot armor. Okay.
True. Like everybody else. I really like that interaction. I really like the personal conflict Optimus has throughout that fight.
Yeah.
Because Nova's like kind of telling him that he's been doing the same thing that all the other primes have been doing, and he's like, he thinks he's doing the same thing, and eventually he kind of figures out that no, that he will stand up and he will kind of change things once more, and then that's how he gets his Optimus Prime name again, and he's like, I'm gonna be a different Prime, I'm gonna be a better Prime than all of those.
Right. So like we start off with this nice character arc with Optimus in the beginning of season 2 here with the death of Optimus, where he gets rid of his name because the legacy of the Primes have been completely tarnished, so he didn't want anything to do with it. And now he's at the point where it's like, well, doing nothing is the same thing as like helping the bad guys, because then they end. So maybe we need to do something about this. So he then renames himself Prime so he can make the Prime lineage a better.
Pure again.
I won't say it like that. But yeah, essentially
Make it mean something, right?
mean something once more. Yeah, not in a bad way, right?
Yeah, give the title a better meaning, I guess. Instead of when you call a prime or you say something prime, instead of thinking all the bad things, you want to think all the good things.
Right. And I want to point out during this fight, we all know Optimus is going to win. We get to the point where Optimus is clearly winning. And similar to the 1986 movie where like Optimus had Megatron clearly beaten, and Megatron says, wait, have mercy. We see a similar thing with Nova here. He's like, wait, listen to reason, as he's like getting ready to give up. And I thought that was interesting, the contrast. I think there was like some subtle influences from the movie here, but that could be just me reading too much into it.
Didn't Rodimus get shot or something?
Yeah, he does. He gets shot. Yeah, he gets shot too. You're right.
Because G1 movie was Optimus gets shot, and I'm reading this
Yeah.
going, yes!
Yeah, so I think they decided to tweak some things here from the inspiration. Interesting.
He didn't get in the way.
He didn't get in the way because he got shot first. Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. No, that was cool.
Yeah. So we ready to move on some more?
I think
Yes.
we are.
So on Cybertron, Megatron helps Metroplex get his thumb back. So now he can finally be part of the club that has two thumbs, which helps turn the tides against the Necrotitan because in that thumb lied another ore element that he was trying to keep away from the Ammonites, right? Because he sent it away and then the Lost Light picked it up. Anyway, so now he's completely healed, healing all the effects of the Dark Pulse from the Necrotitan, essentially shifting the tides, and now the good guys win, the battle's over. Awesome.
Ta-da.
Waspinator, methinks you're missing something.
You are absolutely right, Waspinator. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself there. There's still more. Computron, what is Shockwave's real plan?
You know, galactic domination? Not really. It's wants to half of the population around the world. No, even worse. He
Oh, we've seen that
grabs.
one, right?
Oh, we've seen that one. He absorbs.
He is collecting rocks, though. He is collecting rocks.
He
so
is
in a
collecting
way,
rocks, minerals.
He's the Thanos of Transformers.
he's also purple. He's also purple.
Oh, no. We're going to have to give him a glove and make a little meme image.
No, he absorbs all of the energy throughout time and space into a singularity, and essentially removes like all life except for Cybertronians, because turns out he's taken like the Decepticon manifesto times 1,000 negative.
Not even just that. He's just like a full-on, no other life matters. Only
But me.
Cybertronian life. Yeah.
Because he even said like Cybertronian life was
Well, all life to him is the same value, which is zero, right?
It's all meh.
That's the line itself right there. He did it. He said the line.
He said the thing. So while that's going on, like the good guys don't see this right now because he's in the Shockwave lab doing Shockwave things. I really enjoy everyone, Autobots and Decepticons alike, taking a break, thinking they actually won. And I enjoy the Constructicons talking to Prowl, being proud of him, saying that he's black and white on the outside, but on the inside he's Constructicon green.
Oh, so sweet.
How touching. But also very accurate, I think.
Prowler Stater.
What are your thoughts, Kilo? Because we get an interaction with Megatron being fixed by Ratchet, and we find out Megatron, instead of being a genocidal maniac from the get-go, always wanted to be a medic before the war.
It's very interesting. Because when we first meet him, he's a miner, and I think that's the role he was given. So I'm surprised Megatron wanted to be a medic. I thought he would want to be maybe kind of like a poet or a writer, because I know throughout the story he's got an inspiration, and we've heard some Decepticons mention it before that he was he was like a writer and inspirationist at the beginning, and he moved a lot of bots with the words he was saying before all the violence. So I thought that was going to be more interesting than being a medic. But
yeah, it's real opposite turn of events there, isn't it?
yeah,
I kind of had the thought that life was dangerous on Luna 2 mines, right?
Yes.
And like he witnessed a lot of really cruddy stuff going on up there. And, to me, like I can empathize with that in a sense that you kind of, after witnessing all that, want to be somebody that helps all the people. And, especially all the guys that accidentally dig up a 0.1%er.
Yeah,
True.
and are given, 6 months? 6 minutes to live?
6 minutes, I think.
Yeah. Good stuff.
and that's still what he wants, right? He still wants to help Cybertronian and oppress the regime, but then he took it way too far.
Oh, you think? Billions of lives killed rather than saved? Anyway, um, I also want to point out I really enjoy the new form RC gets. Like it's more sleek. It's red.
Red. Yeah.
It's
I like the
nice.
colors.
It's good. Yeah, it really complements. Unfortunately, she doesn't get to keep this form very long, but I like it. We've come a long way since her first interaction in the series with the Heart of Darkness figure compared to this.
True.
Honestly, I might.
True.
This is off topic. I'm thinking about buying an RC model and painting it that colors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, they're
that'd
good
be
colors.
cool.
If you need help, I got the airbrush.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. I like the coloring that it's a red, but it also has kind of like an orangey feel to it, like
Yeah, I
highlights.
think the orange comes from like the LEDs that are on her body.
Yeah.
It's very good. So let's get back to everyone's doom.
Oh no, this is Waspinator's least favorite parts.
Yeah, I could see why. So Shockwave begins the final stages of his master plan, collapsing all of the universe into a single moment, removing all sense of past, future into a never-ending now. With the help of over 70 billion, am I reading this right? 70 billion ammonites. Thoughts or any hot takes?
I like the use of the ammonites in the sense that when I was reading More Than Meets the Eye, Dark Cybertron Prelude, there's the ammonite that was part of Thunderclash's team. It says that they're working for the Dark Cyclops. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it all makes sense now.
Everything's coming together.
I wonder how he got in communication with them, but I guess Shockwave has spies everywhere.
Oh, most definitely, right?
But that's a lot of bodies.
Waspinator not like get stabbed by mean bludgeon.
Yeah, speaking of Bludgeon, sorry about that, Waspinator, but Bludgeon looks cool.
He does.
Looks very cool. Like he always looks cooler in each comic he comes up in. But
I
he
mean,
does
to be
stab
honest, buddy,
Waspinator.
if I were to get stabbed by somebody, it would probably be that dude because that dude's super cool looking.
If you can get stabbed by any bot, I want
Stab
to
me!
be Waspinator.
There's plenty to choose, though. There's a couple of sword wielders.
Yes, there are. So B has a spark-to-spark talk with Megatron just before getting blasted and killed by Shockwave. What are your reactions to the death of a beloved character?
He'll be back.
It's gutsy. It's gutsy, but it was good enough to make half man. He wasn't half at the time. Be mad.
Yeah, he has plot armor. I'm sure he'll come back eventually.
Well,
Are you sure?
spoilers. Spoiler. He gets sucked into
I'm
a black
sure.
hole. So
Yeah.
kind
I'm
of hard to
sure-
come back from that.
Sure, the writers are
dead
going to find a
universe is-
way to bring him
The dead
back.
universe is gone, right?
Well, yeah, because it's been collapsed, right?
Yeah,
So I don't know. I don't think he's gonna come back.
I don't buy it. We'll see.
Yeah, I
We'll
think
see.
Computron is right in this case. I think Kilobyte's just not used to actual death. I mean, there is that horrible accident way back
He's a
when, but you
sheltered
know.
plot armor.
Every
boy.
single time a bot dies, the next
Well,
issue they're
it's always
shown in
been-
a tank being revived or brought back online. So it's like, what's the point? Nothing matters anymore.
Tell that to Horrible.
He's not a main character.
Shortly, Brainstorm, or what's the human phrase, gives birth to Optimus, Rodimus, and Cyclonus Nightbeat and Cup. What is that?
Whoa.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Singtuplets? What is that? Anyway, they join the fight. Any favorite scenes from here?
I was gonna say, I guess he could have handled it better than Cup could, which is interesting because if you were to ask me who could have handled it better, I'd say Cup.
So, I find it very interesting, and I know I already said the thing, that Shockwave's thought process to assign all life the same value, 0. Like, it gave me chills. Did it give anyone else chills there?
I kind of, since his emotions are not there, I'm like, well, that's kind of part of not having emotion. You don't really, everything's neutral because you don't care for anything and nothing, brings you joy. So, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
My only thought was, well, he had human exposure, and that's that.
Yeah, I can relate. That's probably why I need to brush up on my human culture.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna make a machine that absorbs all of the universe, though. I'm just letting you know.
We'll keep an eye on you.
So, Optimus and Megatron team up against Shockwave, which is probably my favorite kinds of team up. And when Megatron makes fun of Optimus always making it about himself, he then kind of does a similar tactic, but also with a twist because he says like something along the lines of like a paradox to Shockwave. And we kind of, it's one of those similarities in this book where something happens twice. So they did the like trying to get their personality pop out. So they did the same thing to Nightbeat earlier. I feel like that's what happened here so that he would remember who he used to be.
Makes
What are your
sense.
thoughts?
Yeah.
Makes sense. I really like that interaction.
And like the big paradox he throws at him, he's like, I'm going to be an Autobot now. You know what I mean? Highly
Yeah.
illogical.
Yeah. I think to me, like, for somebody that was at war for so long against Autobots and to have flipped that much, that soon, that quick, it was kind of a bit rushed for me. And that's just my taste on it.
Yeah. Well, he kind of, like, through the fighting and, like, seeing what Shockwave was doing, he kind of woke up to the reality of what he's been doing for the past 4 million years.
We've
So,
been
like,
seeing that subtly the last couple times we've seen Megatron, right? Like even
Yeah.
with when he had his stealth bomber and he was a prisoner for Optimus, we saw some subtle character changes, right?
yeah.
Oh, that is true. Well, was it character change or just like a
Development,
character
sorry.
art? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm yes, it's surprising that he would change, but throughout, since we've been getting this little hints, I'm like, okay, I want to see where this goes.
Yeah. And what were your thoughts on him?
I was shocked that he did change, but I wonder if they'll accept him.
The Autobots?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I wonder if there'll be like some sort of trial or something in the future.
We shall see.
So good guys win. Shockwave
Ooh.
kills himself, sort of, with the help of Metal Hawk and Optimus and Megatron, and condenses himself into a black hole. I also thought it was very interesting when they're trying to escape from the explosion of Crystal City in the black hole. Optimus tells Megatron to leave Bumblebee behind because he's dead, and we don't have time. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, that was very un-Optimus like.
Yeah.
You get a paradox for Megatron, now you get a paradox for Optimus. Is there any more
Right?
paradox?
We'll get there. So the last thing in my notes is Soundwave has a bit of a breakdown towards the end, doesn't he, Computron? Care to explain why and what happens?
He sees a little something something.
So detailed.
Mr. Soundwave doesn't like the little badge he saw on Mr. Megatron. And it made him feel like Megatron essentially had given up on the Decepticon cause.
Yeah, I understand that because he's been following Megatron, I think, since the beginning. So it's kind of hard seeing the person you admire the most and you followed for 4 million years just suddenly switch, and just like that.
Yeah.
I kind of also forgot to point out like a little bit of the thing that kind of made me laugh a little bit or chuckle a little bit in this comic, and this is like in the beginning when Bumblebee was carrying Megatron. Sorry if this is more of a last thoughts kind of thing, but Megatron's original plan was to go to Luna 2 and bring back his elite warriors and his Justice Division and to do a counter assault on Shockwave. And I actually would have preferred to have seen that because I wouldn't have mind watching the DJD fight Shockwave. But
Wouldn't that be an interesting like what if story to this?
yeah. And
But it also makes me think that he would be too late at that point also.
yeah, and so one of the things that I also enjoyed was when Megatron was giving Metroplex his thumb back. He was like, "You're just gonna take this to Luna 2 and call your guys, aren't you?" And then Megatron just smiles and teleports, kind of leading you to believe, "Uh-oh."
Did you first time reading this? Did you actually think he was leaving?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't. I'm like, I think this is a misdirection.
A red herring.
With all the things that happen, everything is a misdirection to me now. It's just these comics have ruined my mind.
Oh my goodness. We need to have a vacation, Kilo, so you can recenter yourself. So that's it for my notes. Shall we move to Broadstar Rating?
We shall.
Kilo, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think this is a fun conclusion. A lot of twists and turns, and completing this Dark Cybertron arc. I would give it a 4.5. It was very fun.
Right on. Computron?
I'm scared because every time I say I really want to give things a 5, I get scared because.
Well, I'm giving it a 5, so there's that.
It could be multiple 5s.
Yeah, you don't have to have. You're not only given 1 5, and you have to be careful where you put it. You can have multiple 5s. That's fine.
I'd give this if I were to pick, I'd give this a low 5. How does that sound? Like high 5, low, down low.
What does that look like?
Like on your list of 5s, is a low 5. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So let's talk about some toys, because I know I ordered a nice looking tailgate, the IDW accurate looking tailgates. So that means it's a third party, obviously. And I'm really enjoying this figure. It's adorable. It's everything I want in a Transformer.
I would like to join that boat. And I also ordered the same tailgate figure, and it's so good. I really like it.
I guess that makes us 3 Musketeer bots, because I too got me a tiny little IDW accurate tailgate. But I also got from the Hasbro Pulse website on Earth, the Arc. That was definitely not expensive whatsoever.
Oh yeah, I hear all the time people not complaining about how not expensive Hasbro Pulse is.
Yeah, and it definitely didn't break my shelf or anything too.
Oh my goodness. So, shall we move on?
We shall.
We shall.
Kilo, do you mind telling the listeners a very important message we have today?
We are going to be visiting TFCon this year. Maybe we'll see you all there. We do not have a booth, but we will be walking around in our human holomatters. We hope to see you there.
Yeah, it'd be exciting.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll see the rest of the D&D group there too, maybe. And we wanted to let the listeners know that we will be taking a quick break after this episode, but we will be back March 21st with new episodes and maybe even some bonus content. How does that sound with the two of you?
Sounds good.
Are you all ready for More Than Meets the Eye, Volume 6?
Yep.
I'm ready.
Oh yeah.
All right, Waspinator, since you have stuck with us the entire episode, and you definitely didn't disappear at any moment, do you mind taking us out?
If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing it with your friends and subscribing. We hope you all are staying safe out there. Thank you so much for listening to Waspinator.
Good job.
To
Till all are one.
Till all are one.
Till I won.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Swerve's Bar Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter at Swerve's Bar. If you are interested in more content, try checking out the spin-off D&D Transform and Rollout Rise of the World Killers. Let's tune in for a preview now.
Hey, boss! Is that you?
Mickey Mouse? Is that you?
Where's my money?
Oh my god. It's beautiful. First Kermit, now Mickey. Oh my god.
What do you do?
Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me do my my Swiffer voice. Yeah, dude. It's me. Swindle.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
I figured Sonic could be talking to Mickey. Whatever.
I love it.
Exhilarating. There is also a YouTube channel with bonus content. Link will be provided below. End transmission.